This week we're on part 3 of our rail journey through Scandinavia, this time from Copenhagen via Malmo to Stockholm. Hello everybody, thanks for joining me again. Well, welcome to Stockholm. Those that watched last week's video might have noticed where I was already, but yeah, it's an early morning, our first day here. Overcast again and forecast rain, so I thought I'd get up early and see what I could make of the early morning light while there's still lights on the scene behind. Well, Copenhagen was really nice, but just after I took those last shots of the orange buildings, the heavens opened and it rained for the rest of the day. So we found somewhere nice for lunch and then did a bit of shopping indoors. So no more photographs, I'm afraid. So maybe it was a short video. Here we're going to be staying for a couple more days, so hopefully I'll be able to find some images around Stockholm. But this is one of those places where I've not been before, and I've not checked out where the good photo spots are, but I think I found a good one this morning just looking across from one of the islands at the old part of the city. It is quite windy this morning. I was hoping to do some long exposures, but I tried with a 10 stop filter on and it was just moving too much, so never mind, we'll take the photos anyway. So there's this shot of this old sailing ship here which looks really nice with the light on it and the buildings behind, especially that church on the right hand side. And if I move you around, you've got the old part of the city over there on its own island, still with some light on the buildings. Don't think I'm going to get any sunlight this morning, it's not quite sunrise yet, so while the lights are on I'm going to take some shots and see what we can make of those, shall we? Shot's really simple. Let's just try and get the whole panorama in one shot. Trying to watch the exposure this morning. As it's quite dark, your eyes get used to the light. So in the back of the camera it looks like I'm underexposing it a bit, but the histogram looks okay. So f11, ISO 100, and the shutter speed at the minute is 1/8 of a second, which I'm playing around with just to get the exposure right. And yes, it would have been nice to get a long exposure just to smooth out that water, but it was just too windy. This boat is actually the AF Chapman and is now actually a youth hostel, but I've managed to get a good photo with the chapel on the right as well. And looking across at the old town, again, would be nice to get a long exposure, but still looks nice with the detail in the cloud and the light on the water, although it was still very dark. Okay, let's move on a little bit past this sailing ship and see what else we can find on this island. I think what I'll have to do is put up a little map for you. As I said, this is new to me. I have no idea where I'm going. All I know is it looks quite nice. Well, that's where I was standing. I was on Skeppsholmen Island, looking across to the old town of Gamla Stan. And as I'm moving round past this sailing ship, although I've taken probably 10 or 20 shots of this old town so far, this image looks better and better as I move round, so maybe I'll take another. So yeah, let's have another go at this. One thing I have noticed, you may not be able to see it on the camera, but just over there, there's the Hotel Ryson, and the sign is just, the end of the sign is just obscured by the mast of the boat over there. And I can't do anything about that because if I move to my left, so I get that square on, I've got this boat in the way, so never mind. The rest of the shot looks really nice. What really makes this morning is the sky. So I think I'm going to move the camera up a bit and make the most of that. Just let's take this shot first though. So hopefully you can see that on the back of camera. I've just darkened it a little bit so you can see it. But that sky is looking really dramatic. So similar settings to before. And as you can see, the sky was a little darker. Not sure whether I've got the spires of the churches in the right place. Could have moved slightly to the left and made them a little bit more in line with the other buildings. Well, I've actually come back a bit. I don't know if you can see in the sky there, but the sun is just starting to light up the clouds. So I've come back, and despite the traffic and stuff, I'm going to stand here for a while and just see how that sky develops. Not a bad place to be stood first thing in the morning anyway. Hopefully the rain will stay off for the rest of the day and we'll have a good look around Stockholm. This building looks quite interesting up here, but and there's some blue sky coming. Well, with this I've had to speed up the shutter speed a little bit to 1/40th of a second because of the extra light in the sky. The rest of the settings are the same, but what that did mean is the buildings were very dark, which I have tried to lighten up in post-processing, but didn't want to push that too much. So as you can see, I'm glad I came back. There's a little bit more light in the sky, and the wind seems to be dying down a little bit now, and or maybe it's just where I'm stood, but I've managed to get a couple of shots with a 10 stop ND filter on, so smoothing out the water a little bit more. So I might start walking back towards this bridge over here and see if I can get some more shots, maybe slightly different compositions. When you move around, you can it makes a big difference just where you put the church spires over there, whether they're sort of separated from the other buildings, the other roofs. Just moving slightly left and right will make a big difference to the composition, a bit like the Der Spiegel building in Hamburg with that spire between them. Okay, let's see what else I can make of this. Well, it did take a little bit of perseverance, but finally got that long exposure shot, and this is the image I was after. The spires of the cathedrals look in the right place, and the water and the sky look really nice and really frame those buildings. Well, on the way back to the hotel for breakfast, just stopped for a couple more shots across the water. Starting to cloud over a little bit more now, so we might be in for some rain, but never mind. That's the morning shoot over, and we'll see what we find around the city for the rest of the day. Well, just having a wander around the old town, seeing what photos I can take. Just been into one of the churches where there's a big statue of St. George and the Dragon, but couldn't take many photos with the camera. Just the dim light meant the ISO was far too high. Actually better using just the mobile phone. So that's probably what I'll do walking around here. Well, yeah, I did take this photo just with my Sony phone, and pretty pleased with it. The phone actually sort of just puts the ISO up and down. This was at ISO 12050 and still not a bad image. So this is a very touristy area, but amongst the tourist shops and trinkets and stuff and places to eat, there are all these back streets which are really nice to photograph. Still quite dim in here, but let's see what we can find, shall we? Even if I use my mobile phone. So I started with the camera, but as I said, it was very dark, so I was pushing the ISO up. This first one's at ISO 200, hundredths of a second f8, 55mm looking down the street. And then this second one, because I'm closer, I'm back at 16mm f10. But for this I've had to really push the ISO up to 6400. So I tried some photos with my mobile phone. This apparently is the narrowest street in Stockholm. But still, the mobile phone does a good job. And again, it's using the ISO just to expose the shot correctly. First one was at 1000 ISO, this one's at 800. Well, eventually the rain stopped play and we dived for cover to this Italian restaurant, which was very nice. And also out and about doing a bit of shopping, we had to shelter a few times, but that wasn't always the case. Earlier in the day I was managed to get a couple of really nice street shots. Well, that's the end of part 1 of this trip. Join me for part 2 next week when we go to Skansen and the ABBA Museum. But for now, cheerio!